bustling but very chilly Hanoi, actually. And you're right, Kim Jong-un arriving earlier today, and we think President Trump should be landing in about 45 minutes from now. We will, of course, keep you across that here on Impact. But Kim Jong-un taking his Mercedes from the border with China all the way to Hanoi here. And it was quite something because that bustle that you mentioned, Yelda, stopped in downtown Hanoi. The roads were closed. People were lining the route, hoping to catch a glimpse of Kim Jong-un as he went past in his motorcade. I was amongst them, and it really was quite surreal because this is a city that absolutely thrives on, traffic and ducking and diving and making your way through intersections. This is part of life here, and it was absolutely eerily still as the city ground to a halt as Kim Jong-un arrived. He went to his hotel, and the expectation was that he would just possibly stay there for the day, but he didn't. He took a trip to the North Korean embassy to meet with people there, very much into managing his appearances, his image and the narrative here, making sure that the media is, of course, following his every single move, because personality so much a part of this whole experience, him and President Trump as well. Well, let's bring in Sung-Yoon Lee, the Professor of Korean Studies at the Fletcher School, who joins me now from Massachusetts. Good to have you with us, Professor. I'm wondering, what are your expectations of this summit?
Well, this is the Kim Jong-un show, and I think President Trump is only playing a supporting role. We see that the swagger out of Singapore saying, when President Trump said the North Korean nuclear threat is now gone, that swagger has been diminished to perhaps Veni, Vidi, Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered. That's become perhaps maybe, perhaps love. And as Trump adjusts to the new realities, I would say he is more prone to making unnecessary concessions while getting nothing in return. I expect Kim Jong-un to offer to shut down his main nuclear reactor in Yongbyon. But we've seen this before. Effectively, Kim would be selling the same horse thrice. And I expect President Trump to declare that a victory and concede a peace agreement. Peace sounds hypnotically alluring, but history is rife with peace agreements that have gone awry. Many in Europe remember the 1939 Ribbentrop-Molotov non-aggression pact here in the United States. Many remember the 1973 Paris Peace Accords, which compelled the U.S. to abandon South Vietnam and allow the North to march in 2 years later, liberating the South, communizing Vietnam. So,
Professor, what do you say to people who say the moment has been created for progress, that it takes small steps like the ones that we may see in order to reach something bigger?
well, what few people who are more optimistic than I talk about is the risk of such drawn-out negotiations. While these talks are going on, as we've seen since early 2018, the political will to enforce sanctions against the regime, against North Korea, that has dissipated. Sanctions are not self-executing. People need to do the dirty work, and there's absolutely no desire on the part of the Chinese or South Koreans or most UN member states, and including the United States. So Kim Jong-un has already bought himself a lot of time and money in the form of lax sanctions.
Professor, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining from Massachusetts. Stay with us here on Impact. Yelda's back next.